Hello, citizens of the Craftiverse. Today is a podcast that I've been waiting for a long time. I've been wanting a chance to talk with the main stud over at Studson Studio. Actually, he's the only stud at Studson Studio. Studson has such an amazing sensibility. His crafting is off the charts, his editing is fantastic, and he has a really good sense of humor. He's also racked up almost 30 million views overall on his channel. So let's talk to him and see what all the hullabaloo is about. Come on. Hey, Studson, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Hey, Tinu, thanks for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I got to give out my shout out to, early shout out to Bill Making Stuff for pressuring me to come do this. But yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. He does do that, right? He likes to exert pressure on people, other creators.
Yeah, part of his style, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. I've experienced a little bit of that. Thanks, Bill.
Craft 13.
I have so many things that I'd like to talk to you about, man. And I don't know. The first thing I want to ask you is, like, do you have any filmmaking experience?
I do. Well, not actual movie films, but I do have video making experience. It's hard for me to differentiate, but yeah, I actually started making videos well before crafting anything. So I would say I got into it pretty early on in high school. My friends and I would do, whenever there was a school project, we would, if we had to make a poster, we would instead try to pressure the teacher into letting us make a video instead. Or yeah, from there it carried on into mostly a lot of just fun short films in college. And then carried through after college, my brother and I started a video production company, when we would do various ultra dry client projects, but also some fun YouTube stuff on the side. So yeah, video's kind of been my bread and butter for a while.
Oh, very cool, man. Yeah, I have delved into the world of dry corporate videos myself at points in my life, and not looking forward to jumping back anytime soon.
Yeah, I very much prefer being my own boss. I mean, I liked working on projects in the corporate world sometimes, but whenever that inevitable round of feedback came in, that's when I would usually kind of turn off. I'm more of like let's do it once right and not have to change things afterwards. So I think I kind of vibe with making my own videos, where I don't need to give myself feedback. I just go for it.
Yeah, that is the wonderful thing about YouTube, that you don't have to like keep making iteration after iteration after iteration. I mean, unless you do that to yourself, but within reason, it seems. I mean, I know I do it like while I'm in the editing stage, but I wouldn't say that I radically change a video. It's more finessing when I get towards the end.
And at least it's all your vision. You don't have a client breathing down your neck telling you to change something, unless that client is yourself. But maybe that's an okay client to have.
That's right. I've hired myself to make a video for myself, and I hate myself. I'm the worst. It's interesting. Like I mean, I think I was talking to you about this right before we started recording, but like how I'm trying to like, I don't know, I'm still trying to process the whole format of like, the YouTube crafting video, and trying to see where the boundaries are, at least for myself. Like, do you kind of think in those terms at all, like when you're putting together your videos?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I would say the easiest part is starting the YouTube channel, at least for me, where I don't feel like I was thinking about it too much. And I think the more videos you start making, you start to question what is my style, or what is the niche my videos fall into. Am I making the same video every time with a different subject, or do I want to like always try to refresh and do something new? At least that's for me kind of the pressure I put on myself with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm in a similar category. I mean, I think, like I said, still trying to find like the parameters. So sometimes I think I go too far, or I maybe go like off on tangents a little too much, but I don't know. It's all part of this process of finding out. So you did some film work, and it looks like, I'm going to take a guess, you're an After Effects user?
I am, yeah. You might notice the occasional After Effects composition or some little visual effect in some of my videos.
I see the visual effects. I mean, I think they're cool. I mean, it looks like sometimes you like will go and even rotoscope little parts out, characters out of movies and stuff.
Yeah, I would say before I was doing this YouTube channel, my brother and I had a video production company. I would say we were mostly After Effects, doing a lot of animated videos, but a little more animated than what I do on my YouTube channel. But so actually shooting stuff with video was slightly new for me, because normally we would just work with people who could do that better than we could. Yeah, so it's been interesting jumping back into how do I shoot on a DSLR actually.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm similar situation where like very much a post-production guy and always wanting to be like behind the camera, and you can even see that. Well, I occasionally show my face, but I'm more comfortable not showing my face, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, I feel the same way.
I noticed that also. Do you have blonde hair, Studson?
I do, and
yes,
it's not quite as blonde as that straw-colored hair in the avatar, but actually my face has appeared in the occasional video, but it's never like a central focus. But you have to go back. But yeah, you said you were in production as well. Was it mostly audio production, or is it film production?
I did both. I started out as an audio engineer, and I did that for a long time doing music. And then I kind of worked my way like into film. And then I started editing like small videos for people, worked my way up to movies, did the whole Los Angeles Hollywood thing, editing feature films there for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it's a very intense environment. There's a lot of pressure, and it was something that, started to become less and less fun as time went on. So when I kind of discovered the whole genre of like YouTube and crafting, and what I would do is I would work on films, and then I would love to kind of sculpt and make things to relax, to kind of decompress that, and a little bit of music. It was basically when I saw Crafsman, I was like, oh wow, this guy is a real filmmaker, and he is a real, like he's really creative with building stuff, and he's so knowledgeable about things. I was like, I think I could do something similar to this. So I had no idea of like the whole YouTube crafting community. How about you?
I, as well, was not very aware of it. I think for me, crafting is something I returned to after a long break in life. I was into model building in middle school, early high school, but then gave it up and started doing filmmaking with friends. And so it wasn't until I guess it was pre-COVID, I got back into, suddenly I pulled out some old dusty Gundam models I had and decided these were assembled very poorly. I'm going to see if I can make them better. So that's how I got back. I think I got back into it in like 2017, and then sort of discovered that, oh, this is very sort of therapeutic and relaxing. From there, I jumped into sort of, I played a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm more into like the terrain making aspect of it. Started watching Black Magic Craft around that time, and making goblin huts or inns just because, without any intent of playing with them in a game, because the friends I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with, they were more into just playing theater of the mind, so to speak, and not using miniatures. But for me, it was fun just to imagine this, have this tangible world that I could touch.
Oh yeah, the builds in a core, like going on with the game is like the most fascinating part, for me, of that whole like world. Although I have very limited experience in it, but like, you talk about like the buildings that like you were kind of creating and stuff, and like, I see like a lot of structures in your buildings, like castles, houses, log cabins, tents. Like, have you always had like a special appreciation for architecture?
I think no, actually. I think not that I could pinpoint with this question. However, I think that I was always really drawn to the behind the scenes features of the Lord of the Rings movies, for example. I was always into filmmaking, and seeing the miniatures made on film sets were always very fascinating to me. But I wouldn't say it was necessarily the architecture. I liked just the idea of making something, but small. And probably have put so many hours into the extended edition Lord of the Rings DVDs. I think I've heard you brought up the Lord of the Rings on a couple episodes before, if I'm not mistaken.
They've come up with Crafsman. They've come up with Boylei. And I'm as you were speaking just now, I was like, man, I wonder how much those behind the scenes, like, forget about the movies, because we know like what kind of crazy impact that's had on people.
Oh yeah.
But just behind the scenes, I don't know like if anyone's like taken into consideration how much impact that has had on people, because they were the most thorough behind the scenes I've ever seen.
For sure. It was something like 40 hours of content on 100 discs. I don't even remember, but it was crazy inspiring just seeing all those miniatures, and even the bigatures, I think they call them, for Helm's Deep, which is, it's like, I think I remember seeing they had 3 different versions of some of the sets, Helm's Deep, Minas Tirith, seeing people walk on the walkway up to the front door. It was pretty nuts. Me and my friends were all super into the Lord of the Rings, probably more than was healthy almost.
Yeah.
In high school, we decided we were going to entirely remake The Fellowship of the Ring after we obsessively watched it many times.
Yeah.
I remember we spent as much money as we could bear at the time, which was $500, which was a lot for high school students, on
absolutely
on costumes. We went to a thrift store and we bought a wedding dress for Galadriel's elf costume we were going to make.
It's awesome.
And actually, the only parts we ended up making were just a few test sequences. So we sunk 500 big high school dollars into a production that we never fully got off the ground, but it would have been a lot to take on.
Oh man, I wish I had $1 for every project that never got off the ground in my world, because I would have at least 500 high school dollars, I think.
Yeah, were you big into, when did you start getting into filmmaking?
I did a lot of stuff, like, just with toys when I was a kid. I would do like bits of stop motion and stuff like that, and got a bit into animation. And I always wanted to do more live action stuff, and it was always so hard to assemble people and get them to actually commit and not flake out and show up. I was talking with Devin of Mechanical Fiend about this on a recent podcast, and we were talking about how it's so much easier at the time when you are in high school to like kind of get your friends, because you have a tight-knit group of friends, and that starts to change a little bit in your early 20s. And
yeah, right.
It was a little harder to assemble a fellowship at that point.
Good word usage. I agree. I feel very fortunate that I grew up with a brother who was very close in age with me, so I always feel like I had a partner to pull in on film projects, and then carried on to making exciting corporate videos with too. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Those Studson boys, those two will get you in nothing but trouble. So Studson, man, I watched your newest video today, and remind me again of the title, because it's something I'm completely unfamiliar with. It's some sort of elephant. Olifant.
It's called a tremor tusk, which is it's like a very specific reference to a new game that just came out called Horizon Forbidden West, which is a sequel to a game that came out 5 years ago that I would be very bad at explaining what the plots of these games are about, because I really just play them to look at the giant robot dinosaurs that are in it.
Yeah, but you've been working on this project a while. It's sort of a massive, complicated build, right?
Yeah, I decided I wanted to build it about a month before the game came out. And I thought, yeah, I'm totally going to finish this, so I can finish it on February 18th. That's when the game comes out, and I'll be able to reward myself by playing the game. And then an additional month later is how long it took to complete it, but looking forward to playing that game. I feel like I'm consistently pretty bad at judging how long something might take to craft.
I'm in the same boat. I have started to laugh when I say something in my head. I'm like, oh, that's going to be easy. But I also tacking on 3 hours to anything that I'm like, I don't know, that's just going to take like an hour or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of times 3. And that's still being, I still kind of blow it.
Yeah, my partner says the same thing. I will say, yeah, I could totally have another video in 2 weeks. And she says, you should at least double or triple it. otherwise you're going to get exhausted. I don't know about for you, but I'm typically putting in very long hours on video projects leading up to like the last week. I guess I would call it crunch, like they do in the video game industry.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, but it's
Yes.
what happens.
Yeah, it gets a little, there are points that get stressful with some of the post-production where you're just like, I tend to have this sort of OCD thing where I have to kind of change something if it's bothering me. And I would like to actually get even better at it, but not stress myself out about it. It's more of a mental reaction that I'm having to it than actually just getting the work done. Mm-hmm. I sort of beat myself up over certain things, like, you know, and instead of just being like, okay, well, you're kind of like this, Tino. Just, you're not just going to let it sit there being wrong. If it takes an extra 2 hours, it takes an extra 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's nothing to get upset about.
I think that's a good, healthy mindset to have around these things. I'll beat myself.
I'm trying.
Yeah, it takes practice. It's hard. And even after you think you might have learned that lesson, once you get back into another project, it's easy for me to beat myself up about, I need to upload to appease the YouTube algorithm or something.
Yeah, that's a bit of a vicious mindset to get caught up into. One of the things that I really like about your channel, man, is that you seem to like release like a video whenever like you're finished with the video, and you don't really like stick to a schedule, at least as far as I can tell. Like, what's your approach like when you have a new video coming out?
It's tough because you see YouTube channels that kind of go both directions. You see the ones that are consistently uploading once a week, like Black Magic Craft or North of the Border. I'm not sure if you watch that channel, but they're really good about...
He's a fantastic sculptor, yeah.
Yeah, they're really good about constantly making a piece of content that falls into this same sort of quality or standard of quality. And then there's others that upload, whenever they have a new video. Maybe it's 2 months, sometimes more, or once a month. I don't think I started out intending to go down the upload whenever I feel like it. I think I had high hopes of, I can do something every 2 weeks, hit the ground running on YouTube and put out something consistently. But then I think the more I've made videos, I end up double or triple thinking, is this ready, or is this good? In my head, I want to try to achieve something better than the video I put out before, but I also know that's not completely realistic. So I'm trying to be okay with just releasing a video whenever I feel like it's ready.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I think it's important that you like have the quality that you want, that you're comfortable with, and that people come to like expect of your videos, which is a very high level of quality. That your videos are so tight and just, I don't know, they just flow, and there's just the humor is always like on point, and it's really impressive and cool, and like it's great that you don't rush that process just to get something out, because one of the cool things about YouTube is that, if you don't have a video available, I mean, there's so many other really great creators out there that you can watch, mm-hmm. and not have to be like, it would really suck if like if you're not able to maintain the amount of viewership because YouTube is not promoting your stuff because you're not uploading on a certain schedule. Thankfully, it doesn't really seem like YouTube does that.
Yeah, I would hope not. I feel like that promotes a very unhealthy mindset around creating content. It shouldn't feel like you're having to fight this computer to be seen by people.
Right.
So yeah, I dislike trying to feel like I need to bow down to the algorithm. though I can't say I'm like totally exempt from it. I still feel it after I go 2 months without uploading a video. There is like a feeling in the back of my head that, oh no, it's too late. I might as well delete my channel.
Don't do that. Yeah, I'm sure you're not, during that 2 months, you're not just like not doing anything. Like I'm sure you're just working away like crazy.
Oh yeah, I probably putting more work into it than ultimately helps for the payoff of the video. It's very hard for me to judge while I'm on the inside if every little paint stroke I do or every little After Effects composition, how much it affects the video's performance, I guess.
Yes.
Some of the little throwaway After Effects jokes I put in, sometimes they're just for me, or they might be extremely esoteric that I think is a funny reference, and I don't care if nobody else understands what that is. I thought it was funny. So I think it's partially because I feel like I need to do these things and spend this extra time to make it a good video for an audience, and also just for me to be entertained while I'm working on it.
You know, I've discussed this with several creators, but it seems like you feel this way, and I certainly feel this way, is that, you know, the entire craft is not just the thing you're building, it's the video and the thing you're building.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before I was doing the videos, I had an Instagram account where I was just uploading pictures of models and things, but it didn't feel complete. There wasn't a story for each post.
Right.
Even if I'm just leading someone through the process of what I'm making, it still, to me, feels like, yeah, there's a story here. I'm taking people on a journey of whatever this giant robot elephant is.
So man, like you're spending so much time like on videos. Do you ever experience this like after you finish like these giant projects? Because this happens to me sometimes where it's almost like I get like a little bit of a postpartum like slight funk sometimes after a video.
Yeah, I definitely do. I agree, which is why I'm so impressed with people that can consistently keep doing it week to week. You upload a video and then start making the next thing. I've talked to some other creators too, and there's sort of a post-video depression that sort of follows, or a recharge state that needs to happen. I think since I just finished this video, I'm trying to embrace that. For me, I think it happens because I'll get really deep into working on a project, and at the end of working on a project, I wouldn't say I have the most balanced day-to-day life. I'm probably spending way too many hours on the project. Mm-hmm. And so it feels very dramatic when it's suddenly finished. So I'm trying to get better about, okay, this week I'm going to catch up on some of the other things I was missing while I was working on that project. I need to go to the bank, even boring things like that.
No, it's good. It's good to like get back to like just some real life stuff, like after a video is done for like a day or two, and just really decompress and just sit around, like watch a movie or two. Like in your case, I would think you probably play that video game. Yeah,
I'm trying to get better about not feeling guilty about doing things like that after finishing a project. When you're working for yourself in general and you're directly responsible for your success, there's a feeling of I need to always be working, otherwise, I don't know, missing revenue or missing a chance to grow my channel or something. But I think
weekends don't exist.
Yeah, I've definitely been 7 days a week for the last little while on this project. Though it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you get too deep down that rabbit hole, that could, starts to lower your productivity or your mental health. It contribute to burnout faster by not taking those breaks and balancing your life a little better with talking to friends or watching movies.
Yeah, I think moderation like is the key. Although like I'm like you, when I hit it, I'm hitting it hard, man. I'm like, some days like it's over 12 hours, easy.
Yeah. So you said when you have sort of a postpartum feeling after a video, is it a sadness that project is over? Is it just sort of an emptiness?
You know what? It's really hard to kind of like pinpoint, but I think that like, so a lot of filmmakers, when you make a film, and I'm talking outside of YouTube, mm-hmm. like before, like when you're making films with your friends, one of the best parts afterwards is getting everyone together and watching the film. And then there's just these, it's just this fun camaraderie and stuff. And it's like, you work and push and push and push on a YouTube video, and then you put it out, and it's great. You have a lot of people giving you feedback, and that's fantastic and stuff. But there is a separation there that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration. So the tangibility of what you're feeling in the feedback is a bit different than what happens in other mediums.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I agree. To me, that sort of encapsulates what it's like to create art for the internet, when you feel like the audience is not, you don't see, I mean, clearly there's a person on the other end of each YouTube comment, but you don't see what joy the video brought them or how much they're laughing at certain things.
Right.
And it's hard to get the same positive feedback loop that you might get from interacting with someone in real life and showing a close friend or a stranger your video, or maybe if you were doing a film screening at a theater and you saw everybody's reaction and had everybody come up to you and talk to you afterwards. That probably would feel much more tangible than putting out a YouTube video.
One of the things that I'm like always fascinated by is when I'm creating like a video, and like I'll usually show my wife like certain sections, and I'll have watched this one piece over, like, I don't know, I don't even want to say how many times because it's sort of sad, but she'll come in and watch it, and I'll just be watching it with her, and I can instantly feel when something's too long.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Do you like that process of sharing that project and getting that feedback before it goes out?
I don't do it that much. I usually will have her look at certain little sections, and it's usually the parts that I'm a little concerned about, like if I'm going off on too long of a tangent. And usually when she watches it, I can usually just feel that when something is too long, and it doesn't even have anything to do with her direct feedback. It's the weirdest thing. And I actually learned this when I was doing movies, because we would do screenings for audiences, and you had been locked away for months in a tiny little room editing a film, and you get out there with an audience, and instantly you can feel as stuff's happening. You can be like, oh God, that doesn't make sense. They're not getting it. And it has nothing to do with groans or movement. It's just, you pick up on this vibe. Just
very subtle human behavior, which even if your wife didn't say anything, you could take that feedback and make that video a little bit sharper in those areas. Yeah. I'll do the same thing with my partner. I think we are both children of the internet, in that we have really garbage taste in what's funny in terms of memes. And so she's really sharp in knowing if a reference is too specific, or what would be a way to make something a little bit funnier. I also feel that when I've spent that long on a project, that's when I feel the least ready to receive feedback. And so even if she has really good feedback, if it's midnight the day before I want a video to go out, I should take that feedback, but sometimes, you don't want to listen to it.
Oh, it equals time.
Yeah.
It's more time stuck with that one thing. Because, like when you get to the end of and I want people to understand that it's not like we're hating on our videos. It's just by the time if you work on something for a very long time, by the time you get to the end of it, it's not that you're sick of it. It's just that you're sick of kind of doing it, and you want to do something a little fresh and different. And yet there's all these I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed in order to get a video out that's going to function properly and not have a bunch of bad audio and just mistakes in it or black frames. And I totally can relate to the fact of getting feedback at the 11th hour and being like, it's good enough.
Yeah. Deciding when something is good enough has always been tricky for me. Like, even if I don't have a schedule per se on YouTube, I do try to pick, once I get to a certain point in the project, I'll try to pick a date where this now feels like a realistic date where this can go live. And So I do still try to stick to that. But yeah, once you're at the 11th hour, even if the feedback is good, sometimes you just have to, all right, we're publishing. It's got to go.
Thank you for your feedback. This is going out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So one other thing that I really love, like, you know, you probably have like one of the biggest Patreons I've seen, and I think, you know, one of the reasons, well, there's many different reasons. Your videos are phenomenal. You do great subjects, and but you also do this really cool thing where, if anyone out there hasn't seen any of Studson's videos, do yourself a favor, go and watch it. But he does this really great thing at the end of his videos where any new Patreons that come on, he has this song he creates and he incorporates their names into it in a really clever and cool way. Dude, how did you come up with that? It's such a great, it's fantastic.
Honestly, I wish I could say I came up with it, but I think I probably just lifted it from seeing other people do it. Probably the one who's most famous for it is, are you familiar with the YouTuber Nakey Jakey?
No.
He does, for a while he would do comedic video game videos that are sort of commenting on the mechanics or the voice acting of video games. Yeah, he would do similar musical shout outs. I would say his are more full-on rapping the names, or mine kind of go both directions. But yeah, he was a big inspiration for me doing it on my channel.
Oh, very cool.
I feel really fortunate to have a successful Patreon, and it's hard to know all the reasons, but I do feel the name in a song does feel like an enticing reward.
Well, it's just such a different, you know, thing from, you know, having your name on the screen. I mean, it's very highlighted.
Kerfuffle Gis Darvis and Nico, Michaela Murray, Dungeon Masterpiece Nick Costello, Christopher Smith, Bobriella Starbird, and...
Hey, if you haven't gone over to Studson Studio's channel and look at his amazing videos, you should do that as soon as you finish this podcast. Also, if you join his Patreon, he'll sing your name out for you. Anyway, do that. His videos are amazing and you'll never regret it.
Carolyn, Steve Cardinale.
During these, like, you know, times where, you know, these stretches between, like, videos, what's sort of going on in your Patreon that you're letting people know about?
I would say the most activity happens in our Discord. We have a somewhat active Discord that's mostly centered around art and crafting. But I think about half of my Patreon members are part of the Discord, and then the Patreon I'll use for just sharing the occasional update. I'll put a video out the day before it goes out to the public. That's mostly what goes on in there.
Gotcha.
I was going to say one more thing about the songs, though.
Sure.
I really enjoy doing those. I don't really have a huge musical background, but the songs have been a lot of fun because I feel very fortunate to have a lot of patrons, and doing the songs helps me. I'll get name recognition for every single name I end up saying in a song, and sometimes I'll catch myself just singing these songs again later, especially some of the earlier ones that were kind of burned into my memory. I like that I can try to learn the names of all of these people, even if it's just as part of a song lyric.
Yeah, well, it's cool, too, that someone joins your Patreon and you know, you have to sit with their name and try to integrate it in a song. So it does give you a little more of a relationship or a connection to them, you know?
For sure.
So, like, I wanted to ask you, like, you know, if you weren't, like, successful at YouTube, like, what would you be doing? And I think, you know, you may have, like, answered that by, you know, you and your brother having a post-production company. Would that be something that you would still be doing, you think?
Yeah, I think quite possibly. It's difficult to say because we were sort of winding down lightly the business right before COVID, and then COVID happened and pretty much sealed the deal on any ongoing client work we had some clients pull out and cancel projects, which I think that happened to a lot of people. Their job suddenly was halted around that time, and so that was what pushed me into doing YouTube. But probably if I hadn't somehow gotten real lucky and wasn't able to do this full time, yeah, I'd probably still be doing those nice corporate videos.
The world is such a better place having you doing YouTube videos and bringing your really cool stuff, man, to light. So, man, are there like other elements of like artwork or crafting that you're interested in, or stuff that you haven't, like mediums that you haven't used before that you're interested in using?
Probably the one that seems the most interesting but daunting to me is resin. I see so many people doing these big, giant, juicy resin pours, and then they explode all over their desk. And so I don't know if I would ever try a giant resin pour, but that's the one that looks enticing. I do slightly also feel a pull sometimes toward 3D printing, but I'm not sure if it's exactly my vibe. I really like the idea of reclaiming some shape that already exists and using it for something else.
Yeah.
So I kind of just go with the wind. I'll approach a project with what I want to make first, and then approach it and make it out of whatever I happen to have. I don't super think about the medium first, generally.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting whatever gets you to the end product in the best way, and it's great because we have such a consumer obsessed, disposable society that it's quite fantastic that like you're a master of it, Bill is a master of it, and there's a ton of other people who are able to take things, objects, and I'm trying to develop my eye more through watching you and watching Bill. Both of you guys seem to have such a good eye for picking out like found objects or thrown, garbage essentially, and turning it into something like wonderful. I think that's quite a beautiful thing that needs to happen in our society, and I think it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of unnecessary waste created. Or there's another YouTuber, Scratch Bashing, I think is really good at identifying those garbage forms and turning it into something. Yeah, I agree that there is so much waste. I also feel not worthy of the title of being a trash icon, because there are times where I definitely feel like I might be creating a little more trash than wouldn't exist otherwise. Maybe there is a guilt that comes with, I'll pick up something from a thrift store, for example, and usually I'll try to find something that this is like a bottom of the shelf thing. It doesn't look like any kid is trying to get this particular toy or broken toy. And so there is a guilt that first comes from, am I depriving a kid of a toy to play with? And then the second guilt once I get home after I start taking something apart is, well, now this totally can't be, maybe I cut off a part of this helicopter rotor and now this toy is not able to be donated, and I have all these leftover components. I would feel guilty throwing it away at this point, so I better just hold on to it and try to ultimately use up all of it. Otherwise, it just became new garbage.
It's kind of crazy, man. There's like a lot of waste produced in just about everything we do. And I think that like as human beings, like I think it's easy to get caught up in like we're doing something and, if you were paying attention and you see like, oh, well, this is producing a certain amount of waste. It's easy to get caught up and get guilty in that, and even I've seen it shut down people where they won't do certain things. But the way that I look at it is that, I didn't create the world in the way, the society in the way that it is right now, and yet I have to live in it, and I am trying as much as possible to like, do my part, not to be decadent with it. And but like the things that you're creating and putting stuff back together, and even though you may be producing a little bit of waste like I am also, you're bringing something, you're giving something back, and that thing that you're giving back is that people watch your stuff, and it's not to sound too pat or cheesy with it, but it's happiness. I mean, when people watch your stuff, when I watch your videos, I smile. And like that's that's kind of what it's putting back into the world. And I think if there's anything that needs to be put back into the world at this point in our history, it's smiles, it's happiness, it's people feeling good about life and people feeling good about each other, and just, you know, more goodness into the world. And heck, man, if you've ever worked in like a restaurant or any business, if you want to talk about waste, I mean, it's unbelievable what a single restaurant or, you know, almost any business produces. So it's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I try not to beat myself up about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that happiness is a great currency that is definitely an output from what we're both doing. And it's something I don't consider as the output sometimes, where, I mean, obviously, if I didn't want to create trash, I wouldn't do any crafting whatsoever, and I would sit still and just, I don't know, or I would devote all of my energy towards cleaning up garbage around my neighborhood or something. But yeah, you're right. Happiness is that's an important output.
Yeah, it's a currency, and there are people who want to get out there and, like, you know, like clean up the world, and that's fantastic. And I certainly try to do my part. I certainly don't try to add to it if I can. But you know, we also, like, every person's a different little cog in this machine, and what you and I do and these other crafters that are out there, we just have different talents that we're trying to, you know, it wouldn't make sense for you to just, you know, be picking up garbage. I'm not saying you shouldn't pick up garbage if you see some garbage, Studson. I'm just saying that,
Yeah,
you know,
well, I mean, I do pick
you
up some garbage and put it into craft projects occasionally, so 2 for 1.
I have noticed that you have quite a garbage collection.
Yeah, I think happiness is very important as an output in this world. I think I've become most aware of, I do sort of doubt myself if I am providing enough good, because I try to maintain being pretty knowledgeable of the world. And I think during the days, if I'm building but listening to current events or news the whole time, those are the days that I'll get the most down about if what I'm doing is useful. Like listening to these problems in the world, I could be helping these things instead, but I'm just making an elephant.
Have you watched all of Studson Studio's videos and you're still alive? Then come on over to Craftastrophe. I do mold making, filmmaking, sculpting, painting, you know, the usual stuff, but in an unusual way. Like, I was actually talking to someone recently about this, because they brought up something that is a very current event, and I knew everything they were talking about and was able to have a conversation with them. And I told them, I was like, yeah, you know, I don't watch the news, I don't read newspapers, I don't read articles online or anything, because they really affect me. I get very depressed about what's going on, and but it's almost, you're surrounded by it so much that it's almost like I get the information by osmosis.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
I feel like that is just there is a pressure with being on the internet to be, you need to know about all these things and every piece of event that's happening minute by minute. And I mean, that probably happened before the internet too, with like 24-hour news cycle, but it can be a lot. And your brain is just one brain, and there's not enough space in that brain for the entire world. Ideally, I would love to be more local and help the people directly around me, but it's hard when you're inundated with everything else happening. Sorry, I don't want to go down like a dark current events path or anything in the podcast. But
oh God, no, I never take it there. I don't go there in my life. I'm not. It's not anything that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in that weird darkness, man. I'm interested in bringing and trying to bring happiness, and it's really one of the reasons why, you know, my channel is so silly, you know, and I think that you know, I'm trying to refine it and find my balance of humor again, but that was the intention that I started with, of just like, you know, I kind of want to just do something that, you know, is hopefully funny and just silly, and that I don't care about, because yeah, I used to do things like edit action and horror movies, and like,
Yeah.
You know, what are you putting back into the world? I mean, action movies, whatever, but like the horror movies, and I'm not trying to bag on horror movies. I know people really like them and stuff, but it's a lot of times they're really distressing. It's showing people in extreme distress for most of it. Anyway.
Yeah. I feel what you're doing on your YouTube channel. Yeah, you deliver so much happiness and style. I think I saw your channel the first time when a lot of people saw it was when Crafsman did the shout out, and it was I was blown away with how you can. First of all, I think at that time you were uploading once a week or something.
Yeah.
And there was just I don't know if you had built up videos ahead of time, but there was so much production and style involved in each of your videos.
Oh, thank you, man. It's no, once a week was absolute insanity. It's I'm trying to do once every 2 weeks, and I'm trying, actually what I've started trying to do, and I have no idea, like you and I are in different positions as far as like where our channels are. So for me, I am trying to feed the algorithm a little bit and seeing if that's working. So one thing that I have been experimenting with is releasing like what I consider a video, and then I've been going back through my back catalog and trying to make a short for at that off week, so that it, and this is something I can edit together in an hour, like taking footage that I already have and just kind of encapsulate a build, boom, in less than a minute, and just seeing if that's like working to just kind of help get my channel out there a little more.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a plethora of ideas always stacked up, ready to go, or are you sort of working video to video?
I have a bit of a list, and sometimes that I'll go back to it, and then sometimes like I'll find myself in this weird position where like I don't want to do any of those at this particular point, and like I'm kind of stuck on like, what am I gonna do next, but my absolute favorite is just when something hits me, boom, and I'm like, that's just the best.
Yeah, same. Strike while the iron is hot, while you're feeling the most inspired with something.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that inspiration carry through the entirety of the process of working on it, or do you feel it waning at any point?
You know what? To be honest, I'm so used to post-production that I'm just very comfortable in that world, and I think you are too. Like I get sometimes frustrated when things happen in the crafting part that I'm really not expecting, that I really didn't plan for. I didn't build the time into it, because technically if you're going to do a video, what I'm trying at the moment is a video every 2 weeks. Like you really have to build the thing out within 5 days, and then start the post-production. So sometimes things happen, and it really throws that timeline off. So then I'll start to get a little bit stressed about it. But to be honest, looking at your channel has helped me so much, because just seeing that you're just putting your videos out when they're ready has really inspired me to be like, okay, stop pressuring yourself so much. Barely anyone's watching anyway, so stop making this such a big deal.
Oh, thank you. Even though I beat myself up about it too, so it's all good. But I'm definitely impressed with, like Boylei Hobby Time. He's doing videos every week, and for me,
dude, he's consistent. His videos are so clean, man.
Yeah.
Like I explained them like they reminded me of sushi. It's a perfectly presented little piece of tapas. You're like, click, it's not even 10 minutes long, and it's so advanced, his crafting. I'm like, oh man, wow, he's amazing.
I admire that. I think if I attempted to do a video just like that, it's still going to take me way longer. I'm trying to I'm over here trying to wait for the paint to dry before going on to the next step. My mindset when I'm working is I can only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I was talking to Bill, making stuff, and I think he said he started doing this thing where he's editing along while he's crafting something, which is something that I have never tried until this current video, which I think did help a little bit. But so much of my workflow has always just been, okay, I'm spraying this plastic and technically I need to wait a day before I put something else on it. My mind is too clouded to try to edit this now, so I'll just freak out and wait until the next step can be crafted. I don't know how you do it, but yeah.
Well, ever since speaking, I spoke with Crafsman, and he was the first one who hit me to that concept, because he works during the day, and then I think he does like a dinner with his family and stuff and hangs out with the family, but then he'll take that footage at night and edit it. And I was so blown away by this. It was like he was telling me some unique concept that no one had ever heard of before, and I was like, what, are you serious? And
yeah, it makes so much sense. Yeah,
it really does. And it's tricky for me, and I would say that I long to be like that, but I haven't. It's gotten better. I'm doing it more and more, but it's not consistent like that, where it's like, every day, editing at night. So I'd like to do that. But one thing that I am fascinated with, and I'm interested to know if you're incorporating this, although with the way you were leaning, when you were just talking to, I think I know the answer, is that I would like to probably start doing a little more like you're doing, where it's like, video comes out whenever it needs to, still getting stuff out there for people to watch and have it be interesting, but working on maybe 3 big videos at once, so that when I burn out on one thing, I can kind of shift over to another.
Yeah. And you probably already know the answer, but yeah, I wish I was doing that as well, but I'm currently not. I'm very much, when I'm working on a video, that is the only video going on. Occasionally, maybe I'll have ideas about what I'm going to be doing next, but if I think about it too much, it starts to affect my motivation to finish the current project. And so, yeah, I think beyond crafting, though, my mind is very much, I need to focus on one thing at a time and try to limit other distractions. But I admire the ability to have 3 things going on at once. That's a lot.
So when you're not crafting, how do you decompress?
I mean, aside from jumping into this video game I want to play, I'm big into cooking. I'm sourcing real ingredients in the kitchen, though. I'm not using trash for all that stuff.
That's amazing. I certainly didn't expect that answer, but that's a beautiful thing, man. Like my wife is an artist, and she is able to bring all of her artistic ability into cooking. She absolutely loves it. She actually has to stop herself from doing too much of it, because she also has to paint, and actually get other work done. But are you able to sort of transpose your artistic abilities into the kitchen?
I've never thought about how they might be overlapped. I think, I care a little bit about making good food, but not necessarily it being beautiful. I'm looking for taste and health.
Of course. Are you getting like locally sourced stuff? Like,
I'll go to the occasional farmer's market, but probably, with how the supply chain works, probably everything I'm buying is not super local.
I think as we get older, I think we're going to see the world become a lot more local, because it's just such a better way to go about everything, in my opinion, of just supporting local people. And also there is no supply chain that can break if it's all segmented and compartmentalized into small little areas, and it just seems so simple that we've made it so complicated.
I would love that. I would love little pockets of, farmers everywhere that you could walk somewhere to get at least. Well, yeah, I would love the ability just to walk somewhere to get a zucchini and not have to get into my car and go to a grocery store.
Yes.
A lot of the areas are kind of food deserts where you have to drive to a grocery store or drive to the next town for the bigger grocery store.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just the way the whole our whole society is kind of like built around. But I think we're seeing some really, I don't know, I think we're going to see some incredible changes. Like just the amount of changes that I've seen in the world over my lifetime is unbelievable. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, I would love that.
So man, like back to crafting, like I'm not really sure like how long your channel's been around, but was there one point where, you know, obviously when you first started, I'm sure you weren't getting a lot of views, but was at some point did you release a video and you were like, whoa, what is happening? Like, this is phenomenal. Was there a breakthrough video?
Yeah, I would say the video that did that is the Spirited Away bathhouse video. But it wasn't as soon as I uploaded it. It was, I uploaded it at some point, and then maybe a few weeks or a month later is when I would say it was suddenly getting recommended all over the place on YouTube. And at that point, it was kind of mind blowing just watching it take off. Like I'll look at the analytics graph and seeing it shoot straight up, and it's very confusing at first. Like, wait, what's happening? Why are all these people subscribing and seeing this video? And so that was the first one, and then it happened again with Howl's Moving Castle, but that one was a little more immediate. And at that point, I think my channel had already blown up to like 100,000 subscribers at that time, which is crazy.
Right.
And then it went past 500,000 with Howl's, which was also even more crazy. But there also is I feel a guilt associated with it sometimes where, man, there's so much good content on YouTube. You have a great channel that deserves recognition, and there's a guilt that comes with seeing how much my channel has grown. Or I feel like I'm okay, YouTube, this is enough. I have plenty. Share it to some other people now.
Well, I mean, it's nothing to feel guilty over. I mean, it's you're providing things that people are interested in, and you do it well. I mean, that's just the nature of the way the world works. And like, it's amazing because like your Howl's Moving Castle, which is a phenomenal build, it's like I think it's like over, I don't know, 8.5 million views or so like right now. And like, what I've always wanted to ask you this, like how long did it take you to kind of build the castle?
Oh yeah, that was crazy. The views are crazy. I feel very lucky, but the amount of time I put into it was probably, I think I tried to keep good track, but it was 61 days to make it. And this is like I would say full-time days where I'm not doing much else besides well, at that time, I think I was working regular days, but I think it almost was probably about 400 hours of total crafting time, which is a lot when you try to equate it to a wage or how much is this thing worth? Because that's a lot of hours. That's so much time. And is it at this point, is it even realistic to, like, there were projects I did where I would make it, and this is a simpler thing, and then people would send me pictures of them recreating the thing I made, which I think is super awesome. After making Howl's Moving Castle, it felt like this is a lot of time. I don't know how much time the average person wants to put toward recreating this, but some people have tried, and that's impressive.
Yeah, you're like, I'll give them something that's going to stop all of that.
Yeah, make this one. Here. Good luck.
Right? Yeah, very, very cool. So, like, I mean, I know you're going to play this video game. Like, one of the things that I do is I can't play video games. I get too into them. You know, I'm thinking, like, I don't know, maybe when I retire someday, I'll play video games. I don't know. It's like, I'm fascinated by them. They're gorgeous. And the design, the music, everything is just so cool. Where do you find the time, man?
I don't think I have as much time as I used to. Well, the thing that helps for me is I'll play games on easy mode just so I can plow through the story and feel powerful and then not have to spend too much time playing it. I'm definitely not. There are people who are completionists who are doing every single achievement or every single side quest, and that's not me. I just want to I want to get the gist and be immersed in the story, but I don't have time to read every single line of dialogue.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so, I mean, as long as it's providing you, you know, with a good time, that's all it needs to do.
So did you grow up playing any video games?
Yeah, I mean, I got a little bit into the GTA games and stuff when I was
yeah.
a bit younger and stuff, because I hadn't seen anything, you know, quite like that. And it was really mind-blowing just to see this, like, whole world that you could, like, freely roam around. Like, that was a completely mind-boggling concept to me, and something that I think I always wanted, you know, in a video game, to just kind of chill out and, you know, go do things that I wanted to do and not be so, like, you know, like other video games. Like, I'm working on a Space Invaders build right now, and video games like that were very you start them and then the intensity's on 10 and it never stops. It just gets, you know, it goes to 11, 12 and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Whereas these other video games introduce this kind of relaxation and time into it, and then you could get really intense.
Yeah, those open world games like GTA will suck you in. I spent a lot of time playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which is another game made by Rockstar.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool.
And those are, I think there's some special sauce they have where those games will suck me into random side quests that don't matter, or I'm just going to go chill in this town and just people watch, or just
I'm going to ride my horse and look at these mountains.
Yeah, I'm going straight up this cliffside. You stop me.
Yeah, I know, it's bizarre. You find yourself doing, just strange things like that. And at some point, I was just like, okay, I can't do this. I have this. I get fixated on things, which is, and I'm sure you probably have a side of that to yourself, because I mean, post-production and the intensity you're talking about, I mean, it takes that level of I don't know, psycho to kind of, you know, hit things, you know, that hard.
Yeah, there's definitely probably a similarity between getting fixated on these things. Yeah, I'll get sucked into, I need to add a little blip sound effect here because it's boring, even though it might not have a great payoff for the performance of a video or something.
Oh, totally. And one thing, like on a very technical, silly level, but Crafsman, I know I keep bringing him up, but he's really such a huge influence on me, and a good, cool
great.
friend.
Yeah.
And he turned me on to this thing called Cosmos. Have you heard of it?
No, I've not.
So it's a free download from Waves, the audio company, the plugin company, and it's really amazing. So basically, it accesses all your sound files. You just point it at the sound folder, and then it has this fantastic search, right? But the cool thing now, you know, I know you can search just on the computer and you know, preview your sound files relatively quickly, but you can preview up and down arrows just like you can inside of Windows. But you can also see the waveform, and it really can get very specific on the search very quickly, and it's sort of a game changer for me for adding sound effects to stuff. So if anyone's interested in that kind of stuff, go look up Cosmos by Waves. But you should maybe check that out, man, if you're...
Does that only work if you have tags for all these sound files that you're using?
No, it's crazy. It goes through files that are even untagged, and it can listen to them and figure out what they are. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that makes sense because, I mean, I have a Google phone and I can look at my photos and I can search. I can type out like a picture of, maybe I took a picture of a coyote that was roaming the neighborhood, and I can just type coyote, and Google will show it to me because it sees what's in my photos. So it sounds like it's doing that kind of thing, but for sound files. That's super cool.
Wow. So the AI it knows it's a coyote.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. You said Cosmos by Waves? Waves with a V?
Waves.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. I personally think, you know, hopefully I'm not bowing to my robot masters at some point in the future regretting this, but I think that AI is, I think that, you know, humanity finding their hearts, as I think we're doing right now, in conjunction with, are you familiar with what the singularity is?
Yeah, I think I'm familiar. Is that the moment in which AI becomes self-aware?
Exactly. Nailed it. I started thinking about this like the other night, and I was like, you know what? I don't think it's gonna be a singularity. I think it's gonna be a duality. I think humanity, hopefully, and AI are gonna wake up at the same time. You know, we're kind of come to ourselves and like, I don't know, learn from each other. I don't know. I'm crazy.
I like that. I think the world needs more optimistic views around these things, because there's definitely there's probably more scary thoughts clouding the world around AI, but I like that outlook.
I think it's going to be something that surprises us and be a beautiful thing. I don't think, I do think you're right, that there are too many like dark thoughts, like, you know, clouding the world. And I think we need to just blow all of that away and like bring positivity into our lives. And I'm a hopeless optimist, man. I really do think that the world is a phenomenal place. And I think that, you know, mankind like kind of coming together and doing beautiful things. Like, you make beautiful things. I see so many people make beautiful things, and it's like, if everyone, you know, used this thing that they have inside of themselves to bring beauty out into the world, this place would be unimaginably phenomenal.
That's awesome. I think the world needs more of that. So I think we should keep making videos.
That's right. We'll produce a little bit of garbage. That's okay. We'll recycle it and make something else with that garbage. But look, man, I don't want to keep you all day. But is there anything before we take off? Like, is there anything that you'd like to add before we go?
Yeah, this is something I probably should have put more thought into, but I feel a little guilty trying to. I think it might just be a self-doubt thing. I feel guilty trying to promote myself more. I feel like I've gotten so much attention, and I feel very fortunate to that. I think people should subscribe to Craftastrophe for one, and I guess,
agree.
And CraftPod 13.
Yes,
I really like what you're doing here. I feel a lot of YouTube feels segmented across certain areas of interest. But I feel like your podcast is great, pulling in different types of creators, from tabletop gaming or dollhouse making or clay sculpting, so many different mediums that are all really part of the same crafting world, even though if we're all just making videos in our own silo, they can feel a little separate. So I love what you're doing with bringing it all together.
Thank you, man. I do have like this feeling like we were talking about when we were talking about cooking, like sourcing like locally. It's like I do like the feeling of this community, like you know, like knowing, like, you know, like it's all the same people. It's my knowledge of it is still very small at the moment. So, you know, I keep repeating like certain creators, but those are my bros. Those are my homies. Those are the people that I like, and I watch their stuff, and I'm trying to keep expanding that. But I also like the feeling of this community, these satellites, and knowing who's like in it and stuff. And I don't know, does that kind of make sense?
I couldn't have said it better. I like that aspect as well. I feel you're also bringing in more voices, I think, that are even a little bit more outside of like the usual sort of crafting groups. And I think that you're exposing other people to new voices that maybe if an audience member was just watching tabletop gaming videos, they might find a lot of similarities. And I know you had Bentley dollhouse. Wait, I don't want to get the name wrong, but
it's Bentley House Miniatures. Bentley House Minis. House Minis. I'm gonna mess it up. It's okay. Aero will forgive us. It's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in all of these different worlds, and I think there's more similarities than differences between these different but same hobbies.
Studson, dude, it was really a freaking pleasure to get to talk to you, man. This was a very easy, cool, fun conversation. I hope I didn't go off on too many tangents, but thank you so much for being here with me.
Oh, thank you, Tinu. I love the tangents, and thanks for having me. It was great.
I love the tangents too.
Craft.